Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the August 10th, 2021 meeting of the Laughlin Town Advisory Board here today at this office at the Laughlin Regional Government Center and at 1:30. I'll go ahead and read some information for public, and this is items on the agenda may be taken out of order, and the board may combine two or more agenda items for consideration. The board may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item at any time. No action may be taken on any matter not listed on today's posted agenda. All planning and zoning matters heard at this meeting are forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners Zoning Commission, otherwise known as the BCC, or the Clark County Planning Commission, known as the PC, for final action. Please take a moment to turn off or mute all cell phones and other electronic devices. I know I have to do that frequently. And let's see, if there are private conversations, please take those outside the room here. Within 48-hour advance request, a sign language interpreter or other reasonable efforts to assist and accommodate persons with physical disabilities may be made available by calling 702-455-3530 TDD at 702-385-7486 or Relay Nevada toll-free at 800-326-6868. Supporting material provided to the board members for this meeting may be requested from our secretary, Tammy Harris, by calling 702-298-0828. Supporting material is or will be made available at the Clark County Department of Administrative Services, 500 South Grand Central Parkway, 6th floor, Las Vegas, Nevada, zip code of 89155. Supporting material is or will be, supporting material is or will be available at the county's website at www.clarkcountynv.gov/government/departments/administrative. And there is a copy of today's agenda in the back as well. Your board before you is Kathy Oakes as your chair, myself, Kathleen Haas as our vice chair, Fred Doughton, Herm Walker, and Pamela Walker, no relation. Our secretary is Tammy Harris, and she can be reached at 702-298-0828. Email address of Tammy, Tammy, .harris, HARRIS, at clarkcountynv.gov. Our county liaison is Mark Moskowitz, and he can be reached at the same number, which is 702-298-0828, and also at 702-455-6173. His email is mark.moskowitz, MOSKOWITZ, at clarkcountynv.gov. So this is our call to order. If I can please ask you to stand for our invocation led by Pastor Doug Wesley and our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Fred Doug.
Let's lift up our town here. God, we come before you today and we ask you to oversee and protect our excellent police department. We love them, we respect them, we're grateful to have them. We ask that you give them a protection and a wisdom for when they're doing their jobs, that they can do what they usually do, and that's think clearly under pressure and stress, that they can always do the right thing, as they always do. We also lift up before our fire department. They're excellent. They're putting themselves in harm's way. We ask that you look over them, protect them, take care of them. Our school teachers, even the kids are out on break, but the school teachers they're frontline people too. They take care of our kids. And we also ask that you look and protect and take care of our board members here. I know all of them. They're all good people. They care very much for Laughlin. And our, what's it called now? Town manager's office, administration services office. It's what it is. Please look over them. They're excellent people too. They care and they do a lot for our town. Very fortunate to have them. And bless us all during this time and with this new COVID deal. Help us get through this. Hopefully it just ends quickly. We can get things back to normal. We thank you. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. And I'll go ahead and commence with a roll call. Pamela Walker,
Here.
here. Herman Walker,
Here.
Fred Doughton,
Here.
Kathleen Haas,
Here.
and myself, Kathy Oakes, here. That is, we have 5 members present, and we do have a quorum. So I'll move forward now to the public comment section. And this is a period devoted to comments by the general public on items that are currently on today's agenda. No discussion, action, or vote may be taken on this agenda item that's going to be heard in the public comment section. You'll be afforded the opportunity to speak on individual public hearing items as at the time they are presented. If you wish to speak to the board about items within its jurisdiction but not appearing on today's agenda, you must wait until the comments by general public period listed at the end of this agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step up to our speaker's podium here and state your name and spell your last name for the record. We are recorded, and it makes it much easier on our secretary if you spell it so she doesn't have to guess. If any member of the board wishes to extend the length of a presentation, it'll be done by the chairperson or the board by majority votes. So is there anyone that wishes to speak at this time on items that are posted on today's agenda? Okay. Hearing no one, I'll move forward to item number 3, which is approval of the minutes for our last meeting, which was July 13th of 2021.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there any, and a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, motion carries. Approval of today's agenda for the August 10th, 2021 meeting, and hold, combine, or delete any items. Is there anything that we would like to change in
So
today's
moved.
agenda or approve it as written? Okay.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving forward to item 5, which is our informational items. We'll start the day by receiving a report and updates from South County Liaison Mark Moskowitz. Sir?
Thank you, Chair. So the first update is just a reminder that the first Wednesday of every month, we are having Nevada Legal Services will be at this building, as well as the business licensing. So please remember that. They're really happy to be here and help anybody and provide county services at this office. So if you have any other questions, please call our office. But it's the first Wednesday of every month until the end of the year, and we'll probably continue to next year. So that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. And then the next item is to receive a report from Lieutenant Rogers and Metro Police regarding activity and statistics during the past month and other area crime concerns. Hello, Lieutenant.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Grant Rogers here for Metro. Just wanted to present our stats from last month. For the month of July, we had 358 calls for service here in the Laughlin greater area. As far as traffic citations, we wrote 287 tickets for traffic enforcement within the town and also on Needles Highway. We had 2 DUI arrests And then our booking facility intakes were at 21 arrests for last month. As far as some community events coming, tomorrow we will be at the high school and elementary school. I was able to get a large donation of backpacks, so I was able to get enough one for every kid. So tomorrow we'll be passing those out at both schools. So hopefully anybody listening today, they'll make sure their kids are in school tomorrow. And if they're not, here at the government building, if they come over to the Metro customer service area, we do have some spares. So if anybody hears of a kid that doesn't have one or they lost it or something, then we have some backups here at the station we can pass out.
Great, great.
So if there's any questions from anyone on the board?
Anything out of usual or normal? It looks like most of the statistics are kind of what we've seen.
Yeah, we still have a little bit of cars being broken into, a couple stolen cars, nothing super crazy, but that's kind of our main focus for last month, was trying to eliminate a lot of the auto burglaries, what we saw. So we've kind of partnered with the casinos for extra patrol from us, and then we're also, when we partner with them, having their security do outside patrols too.
Is it predominantly opportunity cars that are unlocked, or are they actually breaking into them with?
Most of them are unlocked, yes, unfortunately. So we do have our signs that we put out at all the properties, parking garages, the lock, take, hide. So, when someone walks by your car, they look in the window, there's nothing of value that they see right away. There's no bags, purses. You just went shopping, you left all your stuff on the back seat. So you walk by, they don't see anything. And then number two, if you have to leave something, you hide it under the seat or in the trunk. And then just the big thing is really just locking your doors.
And is this predominantly on the strip properties or residential as well?
Last month was mainly on the strip properties.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I have a question.
yes.
I've been going up to the hospital quite a bit, almost every single day, and I use the parkway to come back. When I crossed the bridge the last 5 times, you couldn't have put a piece of paper between the car. I was going straight, and they're supposed to turn left. You couldn't have put a piece of paper between our cars. You
Oh, at
guys
the bridge?
ever watched that spot?
Like the lane isn't wide enough?
Well, it's not.
One is a
go
turn
straight.
lane.
The
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
one,
one
they
is you
have
have to go
turn
straight
left.
and you have to turn.
But
Yeah.
oftentimes they
not
don't. They go
turning left.
straight from that lane. And
They're
it,
continuing to go straight
Yeah.
when it's
What
illegal to do so.
The last couple of times I've seen it, or last week when I drove through there, the markings aren't the best. So it could be something I can get with Public Works of either having it repainted, or we could even just do have you seen on some roads, like the fixed barriers? Where
Right.
They're like a little concrete thing with like a post that's put up, and then it'll actually, so people know, because if you are coming over the bridge your first time or kind of fast, you don't realize that middle or left lane has to turn left. You kind of think it's 2 straight lanes.
Right.
So yeah, I mean the sign is good, but if you're in a hurry, then you kind of think, well, hey, I've been going straight both lanes, I should be able to continue. So I can just get with Public Works on maybe trying to repaint it and maybe just look at some kind of different traffic control device.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody
anything else from the board?
Okay.
Thank you,
All right. Thank
Lieutenant.
you.
And we'll move forward to item number 3, which is to receive a report from Clark County Fire Department regarding calls for service during the past month and fire prevention issues.
Good afternoon, Trent Jenkins, Fire Battalion Chief, Battalion 6B, with the County Fire Department. Here to report a little downtick, a little bit in the number of calls in July of 2021 this year compared to the last year, probably due to the same COVID vortex that we've been in for a little bit, I'm sure. The month of July showed Station 76 running 182 calls. For a total with Station 85 ran 109 calls, total 291. And so that was a downtick of about 20%, give or take a little bit compared to last year for the same amount of calls. So nothing significant to report of incidents or calls, it seems like. I'm sure things are swinging back up here in numbers and with visitors and so forth. And so hopefully we'll maintain some numbers there of hopefully things get busier and busier for us all in some ways with the safety of COVID, hopefully. So any questions? Or I did ask, last month you had asked to have this sent to you. I have asked, put that forward to Chief Touchstone, my supervisor and so forth, that see if Jen could forward that to you. I haven't seen anything back from them on that, so I will follow up with them again.
Please.
I could leave this, for record today if needed.
Just so
statute.
Tammy has it for the
Okay.
record, I think it's helpful for her.
All right, yep, and that's what I had asked, that it just be forwarded from Jen, who gives them to us just prior, so.
Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is to receive a report from Will Smith with Clark County Water Reclamation District regarding status of our wastewater system. There you are.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, elected members. Will Smith, Clark County Water Reclamation District. With the Laughlin Water Reclamation Center statistics for July 2021. The Laughlin Water Reclamation Center treated an average of 2.12 million gallons a day, producing clean water returned to the Colorado River. Last year, this month in July 2020, the Water Reclamation Center had an average of 1.90 MGD. That's a flow increase of 220,000 gallons per day from last year at this time. We have no current sewer service complaints for the month of July, no odor complaints for the month of July. Call before you dig tickets for the month of July. We had 21 Laughlin tickets received for July 2021. And attached to the report turned over to the secretary, we have a flow chart for the inflow and flow comparisons. Any other questions, I'll do my best to answer for you.
July seems to be like our biggest month, pretty much
Biggest month of flow.
consistently year over year.
Mm-hmm.
I see that in the gaming as well. Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you. And receive a report from Jason Bailey with Big Bend Water District. There it is. Haley, not Bailey. It's not-
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jason Bailey with the Big Bend Water District with our monthly report. In July, there were 302 acre-feet diverted from the river. Total diversions for 2021 is 1,833 compared to 1,985 acre-feet last year. So as you can see, if you look at that bar graph, you see that July is down quite a bit, 302 acre-feet. Compared to 393 acre-feet last July. So I noticed that. I reached out to our operations superintendent, had him kind of relook at the numbers, make sure that was correct, and then also if there was any sort of explanation as to the less amount of water used or diverted from the river. Basically, his explanation is the commercial side continues to use less water. Capacities are down at the hotels, and then he also mentioned that July, there was more precipitation this year than there was last year, which tends to change behaviors a little bit with regard to outdoor water irrigation. So that could result in a little bit, but I think we'll continue to look forward in August, because usually July and August are our big water months, and see how August pans out. Excuse me. I also wanted to report that the Las Vegas Valley Water District has requested funding from the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds, from the county. And there are some projects for the Big Bend Water District within that allocation that we're requesting. We haven't heard back officially from the county yet, but I just wanted to let you know that we have requested funding. We're part of those funds from the county as well as the state. So once we hear if we receive those or not, I will let you know. The system is running well, no major leaks or issues to report. Our capacity for the system is in great shape to meet the demand here in Laughlin. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Jason, I do have just a question, if you wouldn't mind. So over the weekend on Friday, we had a broken water main at Quail Ridge. And we made a couple of phone calls, and we were told that no one would be responding till Monday, Tuesday. So they did come out today. But I'm curious if, and it was a large leak, I think your guys are still out there now. They were
Okay.
when I left to come here. But if something like that were to happen over the weekends, is there a number where we can call, or will they not respond on the weekends?
Did you call the Big Bend Water District number?
Yes,
Do
we
you remember?
did.
Okay.
We did. Or the HOA, the Homeowners Association for Quail Ridge did.
Okay.
So-
I will look, I'll get you some numbers for some customer service reps that will be throughout the week. They might be in Las Vegas, but they could reach out to somebody here.
Yeah, because this ran all the way down James Bilbray into,
Okay.
Needles Highway.
So this was what day that it?
It
you
broke
noticed
on Friday.
Okay.
It broke on Friday. So I was just curious if there was, because we have several housing developments and HOAs, if there was a number that you could get to Tammy's office and then maybe disseminate in some of the,
Yeah. absolutely.
residential, so that they know if indeed they will respond on the weekends.
Okay.
They said if it was, the road was washing away or it was causing property damage, they would. And I thought it was a pretty good sized leak.
Okay. All right. Yeah, absolutely. We'll find out and get that to Tammy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we were to receive a report from Parks and Recreation regarding status of programs and upcoming activities. I believe we don't have a report.
We do have a report.
We have
from
a,
Parks and Rec.
okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and read that in because I like to find out how many are going to our center. So statistics for July of 2021, we have 13 programs that are going, and we had 285 visits. Masks are required for all parks and recreation and senior center activities until further notice. The programs are Monday, they have ladder ball from 9 to 11, cornhole from 11 to 1, Wii bowling from 12:30 to 4, and hand and foot canasta, from 1 to 4. Need a descriptor there. Okay. On Tuesday, they have knitting and quilting from 9 a.m. to 11, pinochle from 11 to 2, Mexican train dominoes from 12 to 4, and Wednesday, Stay Fit Senior from 8:30 to 9:30, bingo from 10:30 to 1, 5 crowns from 1 to 4, and Thursdays they have mahjong from 10 to 2, bridge from 12:30 to 4, and senior field trips, I guess all day from 8 to 4 on Thursdays. So that's from our Parks and Rec Department.
Madam Chair,
Yes, please.
just for the record, with regard to Parks and Recreation, I would like to have the record reflect that today represents 90 days that I have informed the responsible parties at Parks and Recreation of certain circumstances that require attention, namely the advertising board of programs that's down in the park. And no one responds. Absolutely no one responds. And some people might think, well, what's the excitement about Parks and Recreation? Well, I would suggest that the interest of this board exceeds merely a proprietary interest, in that park was opened in 1995. It was dedicated by the Board of County Commissioners and Edison and its co-owners to the Laughlin Town Advisory Board. So we are the beneficiaries of that park and have, as I said before, something in excess of a proprietary interest in that park. And as I have told the representatives of the park before, I am there on a daily basis. I have been there on a daily basis for years. And there's very little that's done with regard to the directors of Parks and Recreation. And I think it's shameful. Let me give you an example. The board that I'm talking about is enclosed in glass. It has locks on both of the two doors. It advertises what's available program-wise for Parks and Recreation. And there are a couple of posters in there, and it says, on one, there's more than one, but one of them says, foot golf. That's going to be between certain time periods in May. I don't know if that's May in leap years, or it was May this year. It wasn't May this year because I was there. I just think that it's disgraceful. I think that it needs to be corrected. These things could be corrected in less time than it takes for them to compose this statement.
Thank you. I will also state, I did not question the lieutenant. In our last meeting, I had brought up to him about the possibility of gate service for the 10 p.m., timeline for it as well, but I did forget to follow up with him on that again today. But maybe I'll stop by Metro when the meeting's over and see if they had come to any type of decision about that. Like I said, I know we used to provide gate service when I worked in law enforcement for, Elysian Park way back when. But so I'll follow up on that too and see what we can do there. Okay. All right, so then the next item is to receive a presentation from Nevada Department of Wildlife on water and boat safety for the Colorado River. This is for discussion only.
Hi, Nick Dewey. I'm with the Nevada Department of Wildlife, Boating Safety.
It should be put up there. There we
How do
go.
you spell your last name?
Duhe.
D-U-H-E?
Yeah.
Dewey.
So, so I'm the boating safety coordinator for the southern region of the state. I work with a partner up north, Captain Bowles, who is our boating law administrator. He sort of oversees our whole program. Is there a clicker that I have to?
You can just say next, and then they'll go to the next slide.
Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you. Next. Next. So I've been in the state, back? No? Okay. I've been in the state for, since 1994. I've been working for the state of Nevada. I'm loud. Sorry. I've been working for the state of Nevada for about 13 years in this position, doing it. I've seen a lot of changes in the lake and stuff. One of the main things that's always been there is safety. Safety has always been an issue with us. The state, we run that. The Department of Wildlife is the boating safety, like I said, education enforcement agency for the entire state. Our goal is to create a safe boating environment and a good experience for all Nevada boaters and all boaters who come to visit our state and recreate in our waters. Next. So when it comes to talking about boating safety, you cover many topics or points we could touch on. Vessel operation, safety equipment that's required on board, towing people behind a boat. There's a lot of rules with that. Tubes, skis, vessel maintenance, vessel capacity, all these things encompass boating safety. But some of the main topics that we always touch on that cover most of the stuff is life jackets, boating education, and alcohol in boating. Those are the three main ones every year that cause most of our accidents, most of the problems that we have. So we focus on those. Life jacket wear, I don't know how many people like statistics, but I like statistics. 86% of the people who are, you have an 86% chance of surviving a accidental fall in the water or find yourself in the water if you're wearing a life jacket. 86%. just by having that life jacket on. Not having it in the boat near you, having it on, having it properly fastened. That's huge. That's a huge amount. So we try to stress that in our advertisement and our education outreach. Taking a boating education course is another thing. You can reduce your chances of getting into an accident by taking a simple course, whether in person with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary or the Las Vegas Power Squadron, or going online and taking them. There's a bunch of different options. There's no excuse not to take it. It doesn't take very long, and you reduce your chance of an accident tremendously. The last thing we like to talk about and push is OUI, operating under the influence. Same as a DUI, it's .08. The one thing about the difference is boats and cars are different. A car, you're contained. You don't get up and walk around. Alcohol on a boat where you can get up and move from spot to spot, get hit by a rogue wave. You might be a little off balance, so things happen. Alcohol inhibits you so much more than people realize. So that's another point that we always try to touch on. Those 3 points right there, if people would reduce or just pay attention to those 3 things, would reduce our accidents. Other things specific to your little stretch of the Colorado here, one of the things I'd like to talk about is most people, they go to Lake Mead, they go to Lake Mojave. It's not really a fast-moving body of water as opposed to right here on this stretch of the Colorado. It moves quickly, changes the way you operate, it changes the way you approach things or maneuver your vessel. So it's things that we like to teach people about. Take a class, you'd probably learn that. So the other thing is there's a lot of people that like to go out there and paddle. You have much more paddling enthusiasts now in the past couple of years than they've had in the past. So you see a lot more people out in kayaks and canoes than you have in the past. And there are rules and regulations concerning if I'm on a PWC and somebody's in a kayak, self-propelled vessel, there's rules that you have to follow with that. Who has the right of way? Who's the stand-on vessel? These are all things that you learn if you take an education class. So even though it's different problems that you run into, that second line, boating education, can solve a lot of them. Next. So like I had said, NDOW's the boating enforcement education for the state of Nevada. Boating safety, the Boating Safety Office is responsible for boating education, safety, and law enforcement, where our ultimate goal is to create the safe boating environment and experience for Nevada boaters. Typically, here in Laughlin, we have 2 wardens that are stationed in this area. Right now, we're down to 1. There's 1 coming soon. He's in post right now, getting training, and he will be stationed here full-time. So even though we only have 1 full-time guy down here right now, on special events for holiday weekends and things like that, we pull a warden from Las Vegas or from that area there, bring him down here to help patrol out on the lake. Next. So even though we just have 1 guy down here, there's multiple agencies that have jurisdiction and authority. I apologize for using Arizona's old logo. They have a new one now. I didn't catch it till after I realized I had sent it to Mark. It's a presentation. So, but Bullhead City, and Arizona Game and Fish also have jurisdiction and control down here. So you might run into any one of those 3 law enforcement agencies that will be asking you for, where's your safety equipment? If you had any alcohol, it could stop and give you a ticket, do things like that. For the most part, the laws between Arizona and Nevada, they pretty much mirror each other. And we have reciprocity as far as writing tickets on each side of that little imaginary line that goes down the middle of the river. Few differences. You could be 12 years old to operate a jet ski in Arizona, but here you have to be 14 in Nevada. So, things like that. Also, bow riding, which is where you get on the front of a boat, just kind of hang out up there. People can zip around. Can't do that on the Nevada side. You can do that on Arizona side. That's just two minor little differences that we have. But for the rest of the stuff, it's pretty much the same. All three agencies that you look at, Bullhead City, Arizona, and Nevada Department of Wildlife, we have the same mission. We're striving to keep the waterways safe. That's the main purpose of all our stuff. Next. Sorry, I lost my place. When I say, okay, so I say on here, the accidents on the river can be a little tricky. I don't mean that the accidents themselves are tricky. It's who handles and reports the accidents. All accidents are reported to the U.S. Coast Guard when it's over a certain amount of money. If there's injuries over just simple first aid, you report that. All that goes into a database and is recorded through them. But all three help each other out. They transport people to the emergency room, or they'll take a person to their jail if they have to. So they all kind of cooperate on that part. The tricky part is the reporting to the Coast Guard. Yeah. Next. So one of the things that's always big, people, they have a lot of rental companies or liveries or lease companies. On Nevada and Arizona side, pretty much for the most part, they follow the same rules. The rules that, you got to take the person's name down, the renter's name. You got to have a departure time, when they're going to return. You got to have the time of the lease duration. And people from the livery, which is the owners or their representatives, they sign that piece of paper. The person who is renting it signs that piece of paper. They have all this stuff written down. Now, some of the important parts of this also with this rental is you got to be 18 years old to rent. That's just usually almost everybody has that, 18 years old. Delivery, the rental company, has to provide all the safety gears. On a PWC, you have to have life jacket, must be worn. You have to have it's called ECOS, which is emergency cutoff switch. So if you fall off the ski, engine shuts down. You have to have a fire extinguisher. Those are the three main things that you have to have on board with you. You must carry the lease agreement with you. If I'm the one that signed it and I'm driving it, it should be on there with me to hand to an officer if I get stopped. So it's pretty much the same for all of them. Where we sort of run into a little bit of an issue is where companies like VRBO, Vacation Rental by Owner, they'll sometimes have offer their jet ski or offer their boat to be rented out with that item. Now, they might not necessarily show people the required safety video so that they know all the rules and regulations that they have to have. All they do is give them the keys to the house and say, yeah, you could use that boat or that jet ski if you want to. So it's a little bit of an issue that we've been working on. So Brian might be able to cover a little bit more on that aspect of it than I can. Next. All right. And so that's the end of it. If you have any questions, you can ask him. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Okay, before I take any questions from the board, I'm going to call a point of order. I need some direction from our liaison, how we want to proceed with this. So I'm going to call a point of order, and I'm going to take about a 10-minute recess so I can get some clarification before we start into any questions and stuff, because I need to get some clarification.
Sure.
Okay, is that all right? So we're going to take a 10-minute recess. Okay, I'll go ahead and reconvene this meeting. I did call for a point of order, ladies and gentlemen, just so we're clear. On today's agenda, this item was posted to receive a presentation from Nevada Department of Wildlife because in recent meeting, we had a request and we're trying to kind of close the loop and bring individuals in to answer questions. Your town advisory board are not that knowledgeable on a lot of things, and we didn't necessarily have the answers. So the normal time period to comment on things that are on this agenda would have been in that first portion where I read for public input, because it is an item on our agenda today. But not hearing from anyone, I needed to call a point of order just to be sure that it was okay for me to open back up to public comment, so that the audience and any individuals that would like can take the podium and ask questions of Nevada Department of Wildlife. And so I felt it was important to just make that distinction and to know where we stand procedurally so that everyone can be heard. And we have Captain Bowles, who is also here additionally to answer questions. So I'll go ahead, as we've reconvened this meeting, I'll go ahead and entertain any questions from the board if we have some questions, and then I will open it up to the public for comment. And again, these, I believe, will follow the rules, the 3-minute presentation, 3 minutes to speak. It can be extended, but 3 minutes. So initially from the board, Pam,
Okay.
please.
One thing that I would like to know is that you provided absolutely no statistics on how many tickets are given, how many stops are made. One death is one too many on that river. The other part is, how are we ensuring? I see a lot of children on those jet skis out there. How are we ensuring that they are being provided the education that they need to have in order to safely operate jet skis, boats, being on a inner tube, whatever, because, that's a huge topic in this town right now. How do we prevent any more deaths from happening on that river?
Well, thank you for the question, Commissioner Walker. Again, for the record, my name is Game Warden Captain Brian Bowles. I work for the Nevada Department of Wildlife, and I'm also the state's boating law administrator. As Nick Dewey mentioned, I do run the program for boating safety within the state of Nevada. You had a few questions in there, so forgive me if I miss one of them. And please remind me if I do. First, you wanted to see some statistics about stops and violations. I did not know that was something that you guys wanted at this point, so I'm not prepared to give you hard statistics, but that's something that I can follow up on with Mr. Moskowitz, if that's all right with the committee. How do we ensure that kids get the education that they need? To put a blunt point on it, there's no way to ensure it, given the current regulatory framework that surrounds boating education and rental liveries within the state of Nevada and the state of Arizona as well. Currently, the designated operator of a jet ski or boat that is rented by one of the liveries is required to have boating education if they're a state of Nevada resident, or fill out an affidavit if they're an out-of-state resident, which most of the visitors here to the Laughlin area are out-of-state residents from California, or one from Arizona that would come and rent from a Nevada livery. They just have to sign an affidavit that says that they've passed a boating education course at some point. And the livery takes them at their word on that signed affidavit, which is as good as the word of the person giving it. Only that one person is required to by the livery and by state law and regulation to have that boating education piece and to sit down for any safety briefing or training that the livery might provide, and that is up to the livery as to how in-depth that is to that one person. The problem about this environment is it's a frequent family gathering. It's a party atmosphere on the river a lot of times, with people coming down to enjoy the atmosphere and the sun and the water. And you'll get a situation where a family might rent one PWC and one person get have the boating education piece where they're able to rent, be of age, and be able to rent that PWC and take it back to the area where they're recreating. At that point, we find often the case that PWC is now a free-for-all amongst all those family members, none of which may be legally able to drive the thing, or to have the boating education piece, or to have even gone through the short video that the liveries do provide. It's a problem that we know exists, but to answer your question, how do we ensure that it never happens again? With the current regulatory and legal framework, there is no way to absolutely ensure it. What we can do is patrol, like we do, amongst the 3 agencies that Mr. Doohy identified for you that do have jurisdiction and maintain a regular presence on the water down here. We try to head off the problems as they exist, but the congestion down here is so heavy, especially on weekends and holiday times, that all of the law enforcement on the water is simply stretched too thin, and we turn into a reactionary force where we're just going from accident to accident, call to call. It's very unfortunate, but that is the reality of the river down here.
So walk me through the process. So let's say that I've rented a personal watercraft, I've signed, I've attended, and now I have young children who are out there who have not been educated on it, and you stop them. What happens from that point?
At that point, generally, we would not cite a young child that's on a PWC. We would send them back to where they came from, and we would talk to the responsible adult. It's a potentiality, depending on the officer on scene, whether they would violate that adult for allowing the use of that personal watercraft from somebody that was not on a lease agreement. That is a violation. We do write that sometimes, and we also warn on that sometimes. Often, a public education piece and getting stopped by the police on the water provides as much deterrence the next time for that family, because a lot of folks just don't know. They think that, yeah, I can go rent a jet ski and then whoever I allow to operate it is fine. And so upon getting that education piece, a lot of people will voluntarily comply.
And so if I get ticketed, what is the cost associated with that?
Depending on how many violations, there is a nominal cost. It's a few $100s with fees.
So from what I'm hearing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously you're stretched thin. You know, it's typical of anything else. If you run the stop sign down here and enough of you get a ticket and pay the fine for that, people stop running the stop sign because the word gets out, hey, the cops are sitting there watching. So essentially, we're not giving a lot of tickets where someone has to actually pay a fine. In other words, have consequences.
Well, there are a
for
fair
not
amount of
following the
violations written down here. Some of the problem with voluntary compliance for the next time is the transitory nature of the visitors that come into this area. You can find somebody today and then they're not going to come back this summer. We might get voluntary compliance out of them next summer if they come back to this area, but it's a whole new crop of folks that are showing up next weekend.
Right.
I have a question.
Okay, Kathleen?
Ma'am.
I have a question. Well, if you want to get a driver's license, you have to be at least 16 to get your permit. You go through training, you go through so many hours of driving. How do you justify a 12 or a 14-year-old being allowed to run a jet ski on an open river?
Well, the age for renting a jet ski in the state is 18. And that's being the principal person that actually performs the rental and pays the money and signs the forms. You can operate a jet ski, however, if you're younger in the state. But to rent one, you have to be 18.
Right.
The difference between that regulatory framework that you speak of, cars versus boats, is that there's a large body of law that has been built up, and the public has considered important enough to create a license process for vehicles, to create a testing process, and et cetera. Unfortunately, that same public pressure or public sentiment and a will to action has not revolved around boats. And so we are left with the regulatory framework and statutory framework that we have.
Some of the things that you had said seem almost impossible to enforce. 14 on this side of the river, 12 on that side of the river. I mean, that's just, almost impossible.
And according to the bi-state agreement that we have with Arizona regarding enforcement of laws, is that for a law to be enforced on the river, it has to be similar in both sides, or it's not enforceable. So because there is a disparity, there's no way that we're going to even violate someone in Nevada that may be violating it, because the folks in Arizona that are using the same water wouldn't. So that actually, according to the agreement between the two states, would not be enforceable in these particular waters.
And so, Captain, are you aware of the impetus that brought you here today? In other words, the accidents, the death that we've had here recently on the water has kind of been the impetus behind us asking you here today. It is a very large issue over in the Bullhead City Chamber, you know, for their council and stuff to take up. And because we share the river, it behooves us to also get you involved. And, you know, I'm not sure if you've spoken with the other side of the river, Bullhead City, if they have your contact information, but it seems to me a solution is a cohesive thing between all the, you know, sharing agencies.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no way to tackle the problem down here on the river without cooperation of both sides of the border and all the agencies therein. I've had this position for a little over 2 years, and one of the first things that I did 2 years ago was engage directly with the Bullhead City Police Department with regards to a no-wake zone that they were trying to enforce down near their community park. That community park area seems to be a hot spot, and you know, we've been speaking with them as to what strategies that we can do. Unfortunately for the Arizona side in Bullhead City, that area of the river is almost immediately Nevada as soon as you step out into the shallows. In fact, I think there are 2 trees on the Arizona side that are actually Nevada trees with the way the border is drawn. The realities of putting buoys out into the water and them being anchored in Nevada soil, and that soil on the bottom of the riverbed is owned by the state of Nevada. There's quite a process to go through to actually get that all done. To even enforce a no-wake zone that crosses the state line, there has to be action done by both states' commissions that have exactly similar language as far as to what that no-wake zone is going to be and how it's going to be enforced and et cetera. There are some solutions, I think, that can be worked down there where Arizona and Bullhead City could work unilaterally to make a no-wake zone directly adjacent to the community park area that would make it enforceable by officers of both sides of the border in order to perhaps curtail some of the speeding jet skis that are coming alongside the beach there, which is right where they had the problem recently of the fatalities that you guys have experienced down here recently. But ever since I've come into this job, there have been fatalities down here. It never stops, and this area of the Colorado River has been identified by the United States Coast Guard as one of the most dangerous waterways in the entire nation. In fact, over the last 2 years, the Coast Guard enlisted a study to be done as to why this stretch of water is so dangerous. The report has been released provisionally. I don't know if it has an actual public release on it yet, but there were a few points that we were communicated with on the results of that study, and perhaps I could talk with Mr. Moskowitz later on how you guys could get your hands on a copy of that if you were so interested. But the study was eye-opening, and one of the biggest things that they identified was an ability to regulate the delivery industry and to somehow get on top of the boom of rentals that are out here on the water, because that seems to be one of the biggest causes for all of the congestion and the reckless operation of the waterway down here on the river.
In a legal manner, is there a way, because you say, I want to be solutions oriented in this because it makes no sense to completely criticize it. We know what it is and we know what the problem is. But solutions, I think, are the most important. So my question would be, you seem to have a grasp and a working knowledge of the laws that because that's your wheelhouse.
Sure.
So obviously, I know in some jurisdictions that I've worked in government, there has been a commission that works in certain areas, and they have a cohesive legal system within that, where things are identified and regulated and same between states, and in my case, it was counties. So is there something that can be done in this resort corridor stretch of the river to make that cohesive? Between the liveries, between that, so it would be like a tri-state waterway type thing, or are you talking something hugely legislative with commission and everything?
Well, in order to get any kind of law enforcement on the water, you're going to have likely some change to statute, definitely change to regulation, which are the state commission. In Nevada, it would be the Board of Wildlife Commissioners. In Arizona, they have a similar board. I believe it's also for their wildlife, to change the regulations. Those would have to be done in concert between those bodies, that the language is identical. Having a cross-border commission comprised of yourself and Bullhead City Commission or Town Council, for example, in a advisory capacity, certainly I think would be helpful. But ultimately, the law enforcers on the water and only enforce the laws that were given. And so that the seed of any solution has to come from a public body, a public elected officials. It has to come from the legislature. It has to come from the commissioners. It has to come from the public. And we're more than happy to advise. We're more than happy to enforce what we're given, but it's got to start with you.
Okay, that's a possible solution. It's a big one.
Yes.
Because that involves state, county, and forming a river commission, basically a hotel resort corridor river commission. Okay. Any other questions from the board of the captain? Okay. If you gentlemen would not mind, I'd like you to stand by, and I'd like to take some questions from the public that's here today. I know some of them wish to address you. The way we do this, because we're recorded, so that we can, have video and keep it recorded, is we have the individuals come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and address the board, and then at that point, we'll defer the question to you to answer. So you'll kind of come back up again to the microphone so we can hear it, give the answer. So it's kind of goes back and forth, and it's a little tedious, but it allows us to record it. So if you wouldn't mind.
We're happy to stay around.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there is anyone in the public that would like to take the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll address the board, but in turn, we will turn it over to the captain.
Thank you. Jackie Wallen, President and CEO of the Laughlin Chamber and Tourism Commission, also Administrator for the Water Flow Committee. That is Tri-State Water Flow Committee. We've been addressing the water issues for a long time. At present, we are just merely reaching out and asking questions about water safety at this time. And I just want to make a few statements that are very apparent to me and to the committee. First of all, the process challenges that are before us shouldn't be a deterrent to addressing the regulations. They should be somewhat encouraging. Those challenges should be just more of a reason for us to go out and work on regulations for the tri-state. And our relationship with the Arizona side is strong. And if we work with it, it makes it much easier. There are a lot of us that have really close relationships. If nobody knows, I've been here 34 years and I've always been an Arizona resident, but I've always worked in the state of Nevada. So my heart's on both sides, and my concern for the bloody waters, should we get bloodier in time, are from both states for me. My passion's for both. I also want to make a statement that the most recent deaths on the river have not been PWC or watercraft related. Those deaths have been because of people going in the water without life jackets, period. They're going out when we have 5 units open, 4 to 5 units open. They don't understand the swiftness of the water. We don't have any signs, which is my favorite thing, is to educate people. And having a sign that says dangerous, swift undercurrents or waters should be thought about before you put your butt in there without a life jacket. Those last couple deaths have been because they went under and didn't have any access to get back to the top. The majority of the accidents with watercraft are from rentals, not from people who own them. People who own PWCs and watercrafts are normally more responsible. They have equipment that is most valuable, and they have a family that's already been educated. I think our biggest step going forward should be about education. We do not have a video on the Nevada side that lasts 10 minutes like they do in Bullhead City before you can rent a jet ski. It's a 10-minute video that tells you how to operate it, which side of the river you should ride on, how you should pull things, how many people can be on it, how you operate it, what the safety measures are, how do you turn it over. All of these things are not done at the time of rental. If you talk to a livery on the Nevada side, they'll say, oh yeah, we did that. But there's nothing that says or attests by the person renting it that it got done. One of the desks that we had, one adult male rented out 2 to 3 PWCs, took them back to his beach, and gave them to other adults. And those adults were under the influence of ecstasy. That's not a responsible adult. The adults that are not being responsible should be fined, put to jail, and have some kind of enforcement deterrent. There are issues with not with the people who own them, but the people that rent them. And I think we need to address some kind of ordinance like they do on the other side. Toby Cotter, the city manager, made a comment at last week's meeting, or actually on Tuesday's meeting, that said that he has reached out to the Laughlin side over and over and over again, or the Clark County side. It's true. He just had a meeting with us in March about what are we going to do to help him increase safety on the water. Well, the majority of the beaches that are accessible from the dam all the way down to, let's say, Big Bend, are on the Arizona side. So they have taken responsibility for the majority of that expense, including bringing in swiftwater lifeguards. Those lifeguards come in for 3 to 4 days over the weekend, and Laughlin Resorts puts them up for free. We're not ignoring the fact that there's an expense or that there's a problem. But the resort, the corporation at that resort, is not responsible for enforcing laws. We have a lot of problems down here with enforcing laws, business license, code enforcement. We don't have enforcement here. And I reject the idea that Nevada Department of Wildlife, even though I am a registered agent for you right now and sell fishing licenses in small game out of my chamber, all due respect, I think that only having one game warden down here for a weekend is unacceptable, especially since they know that we have the highest percentage of deaths and the volume that we have. I think if we have more than one and we have more than one vessel out at a time, we can surely give the other side of the river some more support. I think that someone signing an attestment saying that they've had boating education does not go anywhere. Making them sit down in front of a 10-minute video does, and making them sign that they attest to it and that they understand the rules and the laws. 12 and 14, that is unacceptable. It's been that way for too long, and it's old. It's a very, very, very old regulation. There's no one in this room that can tell me that a 12 and 14-year-old child can operate a PWC after they even before they even learn how to drive a car. A car has a brake, it has a door, it has a steering wheel that actually operates. This is not acceptable, and we have to do something about it. You, as the Laughlin Town Advisory Board, have to work with us and help us get that done. There should be a fine for every violation. One PWC should be rented per adult, and that adult should be held responsible for anything that happens on that PWC. And I think that there is no problem with putting together a committee or a commission along this river, because I've already done it. I have 32 people on our water flow committee, and we work very well together. We go in both states, talk to legislation, talk to mayors and city officials, and even though we're not incorporated, doesn't mean that we don't have a voice and that we're not important. So I think I'm done.
Okay. And Captain Bowles, I will tell you, between our county liaison and our chamber director, there are, committees that could informally be formed. So maybe that would make things more cohesive. That would be a good connection into the county, and therefore the state. And then also, she represents the local business community, and I think many of the liveries on the Nevada side, are members of our chamber. So I'm asking if you felt that would be a solution as well, to have an informal committee to help bring them together on a regular basis.
Thank you again. This is Captain Brian Bowles for the record. I and the state and all of my colleagues welcome public interaction to solve some of these problems. We see them too. My game wardens are down here cleaning up after all of these and trying to enforce the law the best they can. We know that this is a high traffic area, and we take a lot of our accidents down here. We welcome any public input, whether it's an engagement. If there's a commission that's going to cross the state line and be between counties and be between public industry, businesses, government entities, we are willing to engage as well. We'll, do our part to have our voice, but we believe that the solution has to come from the public. With regard to our staffing down here, I know, we can cry understaffed the same as anybody else, and that's kind of what I'll have to do, but we do have a staffing model for 2 full-time game wardens down here in Laughlin. We do have one that is in the academy now, like Mr. Doohy said. And we try to keep this station staffed all the time. We always have 2 wardens down here on the weekends. We have 1 resident warden that's always down here. And we will always flex somebody down here when it's busy from the Las Vegas offices. Often during the holiday weekends, we flex wardens down here from all over the state. I've come down here and worked the river myself over holiday weekend. When we've had 12 wardens on the river just in this small stretch of river. So we do have just 2 folks down here, but when it gets busy and we know that, we do bring more resources to bear on this area.
All right. Any other questions from the board? Okay. How about from the public, if you'd like to ask questions of Bruce? Yeah, if you'd like to ask any questions, or if you have a statement to make.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Bruce Henry, Henry is the last name, 2004 Mesquite Lane, number 201, Laughlin, Nevada. And I want to thank Nevada Wildlife for coming down here. I was thinking that we weren't being able to ask questions today, so I really didn't come prepared, but Jackie asked a lot of those same questions and talked about a lot of the same solutions. 6 weeks ago, I started our local Facebook, No More Deaths on the Colorado River, and one of my gentleman friends is here with me. And, there's a lot of, you heard it all here, that there is a problem out there, but there is a solution. And we need to get together with Bullhead City. And I was unaware that we only had 1 down here. And whatever it takes, I don't know what it'll take to get 2 people here every weekend. There's a lot of things, including and working with the legislatures. We need to get that done, because if we don't, these laws, like you said, are what I refer to as archaic, and they need ridiculous. I know people at 16. I didn't have a driver's license. I was 19 years old because I couldn't pass a driver's license. To have someone at 18 be able to rent one, and then you had 3 or 4 buddies that are 14, 15, and 16. That's just, you're just asking. And I also heard the same thing, that the rentals in the casinos, there ought to be something that we can do in regard to this video being shown to everyone. There's a lot of things, including a couple ideas about, we have a great sign down here at our biggest casino in town, the Riverside. They put a lot of stuff up there. We could put things talking about boating safety, how many accidents, and reminding people about the safety involved in that river down there. And there's also those signs that can be put on both sides of the river about enforcement of the law. How much a fine is, whether it's $250, I don't know exactly what the figures are. And I'd like to get some kind of things on from both sides of the river, exactly compare the laws and get into a solution here, because we don't want to see anybody ever pass it. We're going to have accidents, that's true. But I think if we work together with your cooperation, I really appreciate this today. I was not expecting this today, so. But I knew it was on the agenda, but I wasn't sure how it would go. So anything, we can do. I know it's a lifelong process. It's not going to happen overnight. Thanks.
So Bruce, we can answer the question to Kathleen about statistics. I got the 2020 statistics from the Bullhead City side. The amount of rescues in 2020, we're not talking about the summer, is 2,300.
2020 during the pandemic? 2020?
In 2020.
2020, okay.
2,302 rescues, 472 vessel assists, 56 medical aids, and 55 accidents, and that's during the pandemic. I have some graphs here for you, and I also have a copy or a sample of the Bullhead City 10-minute video and what they have to attest to.
Jackie, I have to get this out here when I think of it, because then poof, they're gone. With the connection the chamber has with the properties, do you think the message that they have in the rooms, the channels for each property has their little channels, do you think having something that, I don't know if the chamber would develop it or what, but something that was rules of the river? Because you talked about our fatalities, those being individuals that got into the water not knowing, the undertow and stuff, and that drowned. So something that went in the rooms, and I know that would be something you get with the property.
Yeah, and the
properties.
resorts were only hit about 50% of the people that are using the waters. So it's worth a try.
Something,
but
yeah.
It's also holding on to the document that we have at the chamber, because we do issue fishing license and stuff. We have all of the Nevada Division of Wildlife's, we have all of their collateral
Yep.
and all of their documents in there for water safety. Okay. So they can get their hands on them. Their office just isn't open down here, so that's why we carry all those documents. But I'll give you these samples so I can get you some more. Okay.
I would also
Tammy,
encourage
so she can-
any of your representatives next Wednesday at 4 o'clock at the Parks and Recreation, Bullhead City. We're going to have a workshop in regards to this. I would suggest either one or you both of you come and attend that, because you'll get a lot of questions. You'll hear a lot of feedback about from both sides. So thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. Okay. Any comments from the board? One of the things, out of the people that are here today, I know we have Jackie, we have, of course, the county liaison, and Captain and Nick. Would you be willing to possibly look into an informal type of committee, like the Tri-State Water Flow Committee? But it would also be working with what other agency? It would be Bullhead City and then Arizona Department of Wildlife, I believe, as well. And then possibly individual representing the public.
Thank you again, Game Warden Captain Brian Bowles, for the record, ma'am. Like I said, we would welcome any public engagement. I don't know who would pick up the ball and start running with it, but certainly in what you're talking about having this body have a representative, Bullhead City have a representative, the police department there have a representative, Department of Wildlife have a representative, Arizona Game and Fish, there's a Major Danny Rodriguez, that's my opposite number, basically over in Arizona, their boating law administrator. He would definitely have somebody on that committee as well. We're willing to put all of our heads together and provide a representative to whatever effort that you guys would like to have.
Okay. Mr. Morskowitz, could we see about it coming from the commissioner?
Sure, yeah, we can definitely discuss this. I know it's unique for the county because of the state really controls the water body for the Nevada side. I know in Bullhead, and correct me if I'm wrong, they have more of a city, their side really can control a lot of it. So it's difficult with us there. That's why we have our experts here from the state. We can definitely use this room to do boating education classes. The county would love to do that, where they can offer up this room to run. I know I spoke with Nick and he said it's like an 8-hour class that people can come and attend, and we can really start to push that message to the community. So people, maybe that are the locals cannot have even more knowledge, and maybe they could pass that along as well to the people on the water. But we can definitely, do something with having a representative from the county. The difficulty is just the power we have. I know it's a lot of the businesses and those ones that are regulated, and we don't really regulate a lot of it because we are the county, we're not a city. And I know I did take a tour of the water, and I was aware of all the areas. And a big thing that I heard is, I know Bullhead City has lifeguards, and for us even to get lifeguards, I mean, we have trouble getting them at our community pools. So that's the hardest thing. And I know they told me on the water that they could just sit in the no wake zone, and he could give tickets all day long, and it wouldn't even make an impact. So we're all aware of the issues and everything, and I think this is a good starting point. And I think I have both of their contacts. We've had great dialogue, and we can figure out who we can work with, who we need to talk to at the state agencies, and what we can do as a united front, I feel. So, and with participation with our neighbors across the water as well. So, yeah. So, yeah, we could definitely look into it further.
Absolutely. One of the things that you alluded to is the businesses actually having a big piece of this. Right now,
But your
Las Vegas.
businesses, your chamber is a really strong representative of that as well.
That would be wonderful, is to have the chamber, I know,
Yes.
lead the effort with the businesses, because we don't really regulate the businesses. We regulate business licenses, but we don't really regulate how they operate.
Correct.
And as far as boat liveries go, I know, having previously worked for the Department of Motor Vehicles, the Department of Motor Vehicles in the state regulates and requires licensure for car rental agencies. There is no corresponding requirement for licensure or registration of a boat livery. So there's really no power.
Okay, define that term. I'm not familiar with it.
When you
Our
go,
attorney on the board probably is, but I'm not. You got to dumb it down for me a little bit.
when you go to become a business in the state, there are various obvious licenses and registrations that you have to do. One of those, if you're a vehicle rental agency, is that you have to go get a short-term lessor's license from the Department of Motor Vehicles. That allows you to engage to state license that allows you to engage in that profit-taking operation. Having that license then makes it illegal to operate without one, which means that you can have enforcement on those that operate without one. There is no such animal,
Nevada
so to
revised
speak.
statute pertaining to that. There's no law in the state of Nevada
That's correct.
requiring that. So that would be a legislative
That would be a
step.
legislative fix. But without that regulatory jurisdictional authority,
It gives teeth, basically. Yeah,
Gives
it
it
gives
teeth.
it gives the infractions or citations teeth
and it gives us
against the business license.
it gives us a crack in the door or a partially open door to go in and actually inspect records, which is something that we have to do consensually at this point.
And that would be something our state legislation would propose.
Yeah.
A bill.
A lot of it is going to be with the state on the Nevada side. They have a lot more of the.
But if we have an informal committee, then they could contact our senator and.
Yeah,
and-
of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But informal committee can start making those inroads.
Like we have a business on Lake Mead, Las Vegas Boat Harbor. As far as their rentals go, they go above and beyond by policy what the state law says. The state law says that if you're a Nevada resident, you must have boating education to rent. But if you're an out-of-state resident, you can just sign an affidavit that says you've taken it. They don't accept that. They say you're going to have boating education from the state of Nevada, not your own state, by company policy. And until you go get it, then you can't rent from us. So that's the business drawing the line as to what they will allow. And that seems to be
ultimately,
helpful.
yeah.
So there's solutions there too.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Any
we'll-
more questions or comments?
Nope, and we'll continue to work and figure out on the county side what we can do to continue to push this message and be able to hopefully get a grasp on it and, figure out what we can do to make it a safe activity in water, so.
All right. Okay. Well, I thank you for your time, and we've come up with some solutions and some possibilities. So
Well, thank
I
you.
definitely appreciate you coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, where are we? Oh boy. So we have another large presentation to get to. Does anyone want to call for a recess? We have a large presentation. We have two more large presentations to get to.
We have Mary.
Let's just do it.
Okay, let's go. All right. So moving forward to number 8, which is review the transformed Clark County land use plan map accurately applies compatible density or intensity conversions from the existing land use categories to the proposed land use categories. And this information is also available for the public from www.transformclarkcounty.com. So, hello.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Mario Bermudez. I am with the Comprehensive Planning Department and here to discuss the Transform Clark County project and specifically the land use categories. A little bit of background. The Board of County Commissioners gave us the go-ahead in 2019 to hire a consultant to update our master plan and our development code, Title 30. We started that in January of 2020. If we stay on track, it's a full 3-year project. We will finish the master plan this year in November, and then the development code next year, November, December. So we are winding down the Transform Clark County portion of it. We've gone through all the policies related to countywide policies, policies specific to each of the town boards and citizen advisory councils. And now we're looking at the land use plan maps. And what we're doing with the maps is just changing the colors, changing the category names, and it's a one-to-one change. So we're not looking at, you have a residential parcel currently, then we're going to change it to commercial, for example. If it's low density, 0 to 5, it's going to be low density 0 to 5 in the new on the new map. So it's a name change, and some of the densities have changed, but it's in keeping in line with what we currently have and making it more easily administered. Because right now it's a mix and match. Some of the categories, residential categories, say that your density is up to 5 units to the acre. Some of the categories give you a range from 3 to 8. So we're just making it consistent that it's 0 to 3, to 0 to 5, 0 to 8. And then when we get to our top category, it's 18 and over, and that will be at the discretion of the Board of County Commissioners on certain types of mixed-use projects. So what we're asking, hopefully you've had a chance to go online and look at the maps, because it's easier to read that way. I did not bring smaller maps because we tried it with a smaller planning area, and it's very difficult to read. So with a large one, it would have been worse. If you'd like, I could leave these maps here so you can have them. But I'm here to take any of your feedback, comments, questions that you may have.
I know we had some information on this, and then there was some input that I had given about classifications before this board, just public use, named public facilities, and different things like that that came from this board. And from what I understand, most of those have all been included in what you guys have drafted at this point.
Right. The public facilities is now public use. And one of the things that we're still struggling with, we have public facilities, we have institutional, and we have open land. And we can read policies today in the description. What is it? And we're still struggling with that because what we're trying to do is take the open lands and have that specific to state and federal lands. But there's always going to be exceptions. And then the public facilities would be for the county facilities. So that's what we're doing with those categories.
Clarifying and defining. Any additional questions, or do we have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions of Mr. Bermudez regarding the land use update and plan going forward? Jackie, you look like you do.
Well, in order to assist Dale Ailes, we need a larger map so that we can assess the areas that are available for the motorsports park.
Okay. Mr. Bermudez, we're looking at doing a motor sports park within Laughlin, and we have the Las Vegas. Dale is with Las Vegas, pardon? LVE, I know, okay. I just couldn't think of the acronym, but the LVE. And so they had been working off of what was proposed because we felt that was the most accurate instead of what we had done, I believe in 2017 was the last update. or the copy that I have. And so what they were asking, if it was possible to get a more narrowed down map, that's a little bit easier. And I'm sure you have access to that within your archives, don't you?
Of the current land use plan categories, or the current land use plans?
As proposed for Laughlin, yes.
We say proposed.
So the one
Well,
that-
So what we have today.
Okay, there was the
versus-
one in 2017,
Okay,
but what you're proposing going forward,
Okay.
I think is better to work off of that, because
I
this
see,
is a
okay.
project that's probably a couple of years out.
I can, if I know the parcel number, then I can get a map that zoomed in on that.
Chair, I can work with Mario as well and coordinate to figure out and let him know exactly what we're looking for and how the county can be looking internally at sites and all that. So I can bring you up to speed on all that, and we can work and get exactly what we need, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, because yep, all right.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the boating water safety presentation portion of this meeting. I can take that back to Vegas for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm supposed to run this meeting, okay. Is that what I'm doing? Okay. And our item number 9 is to receive a report from Haley Mayo of University of Nevada Cooperative Extension regarding the status of programs and upcoming activities. And she is not with us today.
And I don't see anything.
I don't
from her.
see any type of report, so. You do?
No
Oh,
report.
okay, because I thought I missed it. Okay. Then we'll move forward to number 10, which is to receive a report from Mike Jackson, there he is, Southern Nevada Transit Coalition regarding the status of the Silver Rider bus system. And I believe in our packets,
It's here.
possibly in the back room as well, there's a financial update for everyone.
Hi, Mike Jackson, Executive Director, Southern Nevada Transit Coalition, Silver Rider. Got some good news. It's been a little bit since I've been here. We've been working hard, especially through these times, with the different struggles that we've had to deal with as essential workers and essential services. But we've fared well, and we've continued to provide the service. The ridership is starting to come back up finally. As you see in your information report, last year, same time in June, was only 6,522, and we are now back up to 16,607. That's still quite low. Back in the days when the economy was well, it was not abnormal to be well over 20,000. Further down in my report, I'll discuss some rider incentives that we're working on. On our grants, it was grant writing time, and we have received notification from NDOT of our awards, and we fared well. On our 5311 grant, which is what we operate off of, that's what pays the bills, pays the drivers, pays for the fuel. We were only slightly cut. Of course, when you write grants, you make sure that you cushion it a little bit, so when you do get cut, it doesn't hurt. So we are very, very pleased with being awarded in Laughlin for the next 2 years, $5,934,081, which
The largest.
is the largest that we've been awarded. But of course, costs are going up, wages are becoming very competitive, and we are doing our best to take care of our employees and future employees to come. We're coming up with a lot of different things for the employees. On our 5339, and you see also in my report, I went ahead and making everyone understand that we're not just here, we're in Mesquite and we're in Boulder as well, and we received our grants for those areas too, in which we have a lot of plans and a lot of things that we're working on there too. Just for example, in Mesquite, before the COVID situation came, we had already started plans on an additional route in Mesquite. Last April, we went ahead and implemented that additional route, and within that first month, our ridership went up 1,700 in rides, which is good in Mesquite. I mean, in Laughlin, that's small numbers, but that brought our ridership up in Mesquite to over 6,000, and that's pretty good for that town. And we do not operate 40-foot buses there. We only operate cutaways. On our 5339 grant, I think that was me, 5339 grant, that's what we purchased the buses with. That's what we do improvements on the facility. I went ahead and put one of the SNTC's largest requests in, and we were awarded 100% of our requests. In Laughlin, we were awarded $2,906,225. That's for a 4-year period. In that request for Laughlin, that includes 2 more new 40-footers, more cutaways. What I am going to be doing is all of our cutaways, and I know you're familiar with our little buses that run around for paratransit. Those buses that you see out there have steps. I'm converting them all to low-floor buses. That is much easier. And back in 1996, in the fixed route, the 40-foot buses, that's when the move started to go to low floor. And they went to low floor because of liability. It's much easier to board a bus that has no steps. It's much easier to load ADA with a ramp rather than a lift. But that movement never happened with paratransit. So I had started the movement. I purchased a couple low floors in 2010. They worked out well, but they're expensive. And we bought it with ARA money back then, which was 100%. Since that time, a lot of our funders have realized that is the need. In fact, RTC is purchasing 80. So they're starting the movement as well. And they utilize the information that we had with our experience with the buses to move forward. So that's pretty good that we were the guinea pigs, I guess you'd say. Another thing that we're going to be doing is solar panels at our facility. I am looking at infrastructure for electric vehicles. So I'm going to start with solar panels first to provide the energy to charge the buses. So we received the grant to go ahead and move forward. I still, in these grants, I have to budget for the match with the RTC, but they are well aware of our request, and I have informed them of everything that I was requesting for, and they are in agreement. It's just a matter of budgeting through this 4-year period when all of these actions are going to take place. You got a question?
What about the option of solar just to power your facility? It's a pretty good
That's where it's
sized
going to start
facility.
out.
Pardon?
It's going to start out as powering our facility.
Okay.
Because you can only put in a solar panels that will provide 120% of what you use. And so what we currently use is what we're going to put up at 120%. And then when the chargers come in to charge electric vehicles, which, you know, all of that is still in development, and I don't like to test that much. I will let other people test these buses out first. But then we'll add more solar panels once those chargers come in. So it's a movement. It's a movement at our other sites as well. But I'm trying to build the infrastructure before the buses rather than pay the big power bills to charge them. Because the fuel for electric vehicles is not free unless you set yourself up for it. So on those grants, we're very excited. You will be seeing movement. In fact, you'll see later in the report, I'll touch a little bit on that. But first thing I wanted to talk about, or other item I want to talk about, is our rider incentives. We've recently partnered up with our chamber, Jackie, and she is assisting us in partnering up with all the big employers in our town. And we're meeting with all the human resource directors, and we are providing them with free monthly bus passes to give to their new hires and to any employees that may need help getting to work. This is a rider incentive. I think it's very important. We want to get the riders back on the buses, and we need to do what we can to help. And I think it's just a good thing to partner up with everybody in the community and make this happen. So it's well received already. We're moving forward on it. We've gotten with a lot of the hotels already and handed out their first 20 monthly passes. And if they need more, they know to get a hold of us, and we'll give them more. I have not put a timeline on this. I want to see ridership up, and once the ridership's up, then I'll decide. But understanding that the fares and the monthly pass money that we receive is only a small amount of the cost to operate, and the cost to operate comes from grants. So to provide free rides to stimulate the rides, because our money, our formula money that comes from FTA is based off of rides. So the more rides that we can perform, the more money the state can receive. Make sense? So we're after rides.
And I think in the current job market where it's very hard for us, and I know the properties are struggling to
Yes.
maintain and keep employees, so I think that is an excellent program.
Yep.
I'm surprised we didn't think of that 20 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. But yeah, that definitely can help the, people that want a job but they don't have transportation.
Absolutely. And it's coming, and like you said, I don't know why we didn't think about it before, too.
I know, 20
If it was
years
my
ago,
choice,
we
I
could
would
have
just
done
have free rides.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Why didn't I think of that?
Couple other things that we're working on. We're going to be doing more free ride days throughout the year. We're going to partner up with Bullhead Area Transit and work those free ride days at the same time. And another big thing that we're working on is free transfers from Bullhead City Transit to Silver Rider.
Yeah.
They'll take the boat across the river, but they'll have a 2-hour period with their transfers. We're working on programming our fare box to issue transfers. They'll show the transfers to the Bullhead City Transit, get on their bus and go. Bullhead City doesn't have the fancy fare boxes. They'll have the old style, tear it off, here you go. So we're working on it. It'll be implemented soon. In fact, I'm trying to implement it with the grand opening, ribbon cutting of our first 3 new buses that we are getting ready for service as we speak. So we did already receive 3 40-foot hybrid electric buses. We're going through the buses. We're coming up with a new paint scheme. We're going to make them all nice and pretty. We have actually even added a reflective metallic in the gray paint for safety, so that way when headlights hit the paint, it's reflective. So in our stripes, that's going to be added into it. So the buses are beautiful. As you see, there's pictures in your packet. They're hybrid electric, as our old ones were, but I did a lot of different specifications on these. In fact, on delivery, they were driven from Alabama here. An example of the fuel economy on a 40-foot bus, which is normally only 3 miles per gallon. They fueled up in New Mexico, and they needed to deliver it with a full tank. When they fueled it in New Mexico, they topped it off in Kingman and it only took 50 gallons. That's pretty good for a 40-foot bus. So we're very excited to put it into service and see what kind of fuel mileage it gets, because what I did is all the accessories I tapped off the hybrid battery pack in the roof. So the AC compressor that normally ran off the engine ran off the electricity. The fans, off the electricity. All these different add-on units that normally loaded up the engine is now off the electricity. So our fuel mileage should be very, very impressive. So be looking out. We'll do a press release when we're getting closer to completion of these buses. We will do a free ride day. Ribbon cutting, we're working with Jackie on that when it does happen, but I can't give a date yet because we're still in the process of getting them ready. Most likely we're going to be giving a letter of intent to the bus manufacturer, because we have a contract with New Flyer on these buses, 4 options. And with the 5339 grant that we received, we're going to give them a letter of intent to order 2 more, so we can receive 2 more new 40-foot buses by June of next year. So therefore, we will have all new 40-foot buses on the road within a year, which is good because our current buses are at about 1 million miles, which it seems like I was given this report several years ago about the same situation. Well, we're there again.
New buses.
So there's my report. I think it's a lot of good news, and we look forward to moving forward. And our next quarterly report should be quite interesting because we'll have a lot of movement by then. The new buses should already be in service by our next quarterly report. So we'll see what we come up with.
Very exciting.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just enjoy it.
No.
Sure, he can go right outside the room and answer for you, certainly. Okay, so we're going to move to item 11, which is receive a report from Jackie Whalen with Laughlin Chamber of Commerce regarding current and upcoming business activities in Laughlin, and then she's going to switch hats and give us the report for the Laughlin Tourism Commission regarding current and upcoming events and activities. So it's a double header.
Thank you for this opportunity. I will try and be quick, although there's a lot on the report. You guys can ask me questions later or ask me for some more supporting documentation. I tried to provide you with what I could. The Laughlin Chamber Water Flow Committee has been really active in the month of July. We went and stood on top of Lake Hoover Dam and did a coalition press conference with the major news media, and it was successful in what we say right now is successful because a push by Utah's U.S. Senator Mike Lee to pass the amendment to the Investment in America Act, which is us, is as a thinly veiled attempt to bypass requirements for federal environmental review in order to fast-track the Lake Powell pipeline project, failed by a narrow vote margin in Congress Wednesday night of last week. So we're really excited that at least we're getting some notice, and it's not just us. We have a lot of people in our coalition between Utah, California, Arizona, and Nevada that are really making some strong statements and bringing on some contempt, really, of the use of water. I've provided you with the Chamber's latest press release regarding the efforts of the Water Flow Committee, and I do have a list of those people who are on the Water Flow Committee if you're interested. It's tri-state. It also includes everything from BOR, small business, large business, and enforcement. Chef's Food Fest, as you know, was canceled. We are planning on a Chef's Food Fest next year. Hopefully we'll have enough trained chefs to have one next year. The Tri-State Mega Mixer is scheduled for September 3rd has also been canceled due to a lack of staffing in the casinos. Community Achievement Awards has been moved to November 13th, but nominations are being accepted through the end of the month. It looks very hefty, but we still need some more in certain categories, so don't forget to nominate a hero in your community that you'd like to be recognized. We accept them 24 hours a day online at laughlinchamber.com, and you can do it right online, and when you push the button, it comes right to my email. So there's no loss of time. The deadline is August 30th, and I encourage you to really get that done. We do have some nomination sheets in the back for those who want to write them out. The judging panel for this year, the lead judge is our last year's Citizen of the Year, Anita Bray from Javelinas. Representing Nevada is Denise Berry from the Riverside, Mark Moskowitz from Clark County, Michael Jackson from Southern Nevada Transit District, and we have representing Arizona, Jessica Terry from J&J Events, Maria Pinecker from Billet Healthcare Services, and Rob Terry from Finley. This is a nice variety and diverse group of male and female, socioeconomic backgrounds, industries, and age. So I think we'll have a nice diverse group to go over the nominations. And it is quite rewarding, but it is some work. So you'll meet a lot of people. That's what was nice for Mark to say yes, because he'll meet a lot of people on both sides of the river during this process. We do have a ribbon cutting on September 14th, talk about business expansion and retention. This is one of those businesses that has expanded through COVID, and they're doing a great job, so we're excited to give them a ribbon cutting. No mixers at present because we're trying to hold those down. We have the networking and educating series that we have for breakfast. We've gone virtual with that so more people can attend, and we're doing more educational than mixing. We will give them 15 minutes at the end of the hour for them to talk about specials that they have and those kind of things, but the first one is going to be on August 27th. I'm going to be the first speaker because I want everybody to understand what resources they have through us and anywhere else to get shots or vaccinations or any kind of resources for support of business operations. I want them to know what we can help them with the SBA, with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, with Clark County grants, state grants, those kind of things. I want to help them get through that. Our volunteers in partnership have been asked to help. They're still doing the airport ambassador program every single day, sometimes 2 to 3 flights a day. But right now they've been asked to help with the large concerts at the Laughlin Event Center. We don't have enough staff in the Golden Entertainment properties to provide ticket scanning and ushering. So the volunteers in partnership have done that before. They're aware of the process, and they're going to be present to do those. And those are the events that they're going to be volunteering at. I receive by a Nevada Commission on Tourism $26 an hour for every volunteer that that works that event, and then we get that towards a match on Nevada Commission on Tourism grants that we ask for. Sometimes matching grants don't serve us organizations well because we can't match the grant. But I can use volunteer hours for that, so we're really excited about putting that in. Anybody that wants to volunteer has to become a volunteer in partnership in order to be a volunteer at an LEC event, because they have to be background checked. The Throw in the Towel program that we did for the Catholic Charities program, our office was full, and the Catholic Charities came over and picked up all those gently used towels and sheets and pillowcases and all kinds of stuff, and they were so excited. They said they have enough towels and sheets now for a long time, and all it was asking people to clean out their closet, and it worked out really well.
And excuse to buy more, too.
Yeah. I want you to know that the last report I gave you on membership wasn't so good. We did have to clean out the receivables, and it went down probably about 16 members. But if you see, we went from 282 to 292 just in the last month. Laughlin is at 28% of my membership. New members just this quarter are 5, and new members for Laughlin just in this quarter count 2. Compliance partnership that we've been working on between all the agencies, Clark County Parks and Rec, Nevada Division of Wildlife, Bureau of Reclamation, BLM, all those agencies that provide us, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, that provide us with permits to have our outdoor events, whether it be for chamber or for LTC. That was an amazing meeting. There were agencies that didn't know what the other agencies did, or what they really needed, or how thorough certain pieces of information had to be for them to complete their task. So we've got a timeline started. We all know when everybody has to have their stuff done so the next agency can get theirs done. We all have a face, we have a phone number, a contact name, and we're all working together on the same events at the same time, making sure that we meet the deadlines that we have to have. It was very, very educational for me. I partnered with Nevada Recovers. The program is the listening tour for our state treasurer. If you go to nevadarecovers.com, there's a video there from our governor, senator, representatives, all the way down about how you should take advantage of these listening tours when they come to your township or metropolitan area municipalities, and be ready to tell them what you want for your town. What do you want for your community? That's all they're here for, is to give you an outline of how you're supposed to respond, how you're supposed to present what you want, and then you listen, and then they sit back and listen to everybody that attends. We're going to have it live streaming from Chamber's Facebook page, and it's going to be at the Legion. And they are so excited that we're going to do it at the Legion, and they're coming down for probably about 2 hours, they think. They do want to do a presentation to the Laughlin Town Advisory Board if you guys aren't present there to listen. But Tammy's already working through that and with the contacts that I have to see if they want to do a presentation for you too.
Yeah, we'd be limited to 2 of us for that, but yes.
But all the businesses, nonprofits, organizations, and citizens are encouraged to either watch it on live stream or come to the Legion and speak about what they want for their community. Because the grants that are coming from the feds and then into Nevada, it's important for them to know what we want. And if you don't talk about it, nobody's going to hear it. The U.S. Economic Development Administration's Investing in America's Communities, we became a partner for them too. The American Rescue Plan, which has allocated $3 billion to the EDA to assist local communities nationwide in their efforts to accelerate economic recovery. I also attached a press release for that, and we're working really closely with them to make sure that everything that needs to be distributed is, and you'll probably see more of those in our e-blasts and our newsletters on Wednesday. We partnered with Immunize Nevada because we know that we need to have immunizations down here more frequently. So we've partnered with some people in town for the flu and COVID-19 shots. Homeless camps are going to be done first. We're going to go with Las Vegas Metro out to the homeless camps and provide immunizations for flu and COVID-19 at the place where they are residing without any effects of people kicking them out or anything. We'll take out some gallons of water, make sure that they have plenty of fluids, and give them whatever we can, including an incentive. I think at this point, we're going to be using Family Dollar $25 gift certificates to all homeless that get a vaccination. So that provides some help for them and gets us some assurance that they've been vaccinated. We'll let you know how that program works. Then it's going to go to Laughlin Chamber of Commerce for the day. Then Southern Nevada Transit Coalition, we're trying to do the shut-ins that don't have access to a vaccination site. Then Nevada Made Marijuana is going to do it in their parking lot for a couple days. We haven't decided what days they are. And then every concert at LEC and East Center, prior to the concert, we will have a vaccination site set up right outside the doors so that anybody going in can get a vaccination within 3 hours of the start of the concert. Not when they're coming out, because we don't want to deal with a bunch of drunks. But, did I say that? But before they go in, pre-concert hours, we'll be able to give them vaccinations. And that's all brought to you by Immunize Nevada. And that's all for Chamber. Except that if you guys, I pulled the old ones, Tammy, off the table back there. The new ones came in. And I'll bring you a case. I couldn't carry the case today, but we have the new guide out. Thanks to News West Publishing and their partnership, we were able to get those out today, this last week, and I'll make sure that everybody gets what they need. Whew. On to Laughlin Tourism Commission. Does anybody have any questions about Chamber? Okay. On to LTC, there's not a whole lot to report. As you know, Best in the Desert is still coming for 2 events. World's Toughest Mudder and World's Toughest Mudder and Tough Mudder are coming for 2 weekends in a row, so we'll be pretty busy. Run Laughlin has obtained their permits, and SNOR, Southern Nevada Off-Road Enthusiasts, they're coming in December.
December?
Mm-hmm. The townwide concerts that we are sponsoring through Laughlin Tourism Commission are the Toby Keith and Pitbull, but there are tons of other concerts that we're not giving any money to for production, and those can be found in the second to the last page, right here, in the Laughlin Event Center. There's tons. I don't know if you've seen all the big names, including here, it has Justin Moore and Alabama. There are some really good ones coming. All those townwide concerts can be, those tickets can be obtained, or information can be gathered at one of those 5 websites. And I think that's it. Any questions on LTC? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. All right, and moving forward to item number 13, which is receive a report from Tanya Brown Worth, Laughlin Library, regarding current and upcoming activities. She's not with us today, and I did not see a report. Did I miss one? Okay. Receive a report from Laughlin School System regarding the status of programs and upcoming activities. Ashley.
Good afternoon. For the record, Ashlyn Bilbray-Sains, SAINZ, School Organization Team Chairman for Laughlin Junior Senior Higher and Bend Elementary. I have a report here from Don Estes in regards to enrollment numbers. Laughlin started school yesterday. And overall, projected numbers from the spring are down. of enrollment. School district enrollment goes all the way till September 10th. So she hopes by next month we'll have a final enrollment. We have to give the district the numbers by September 10th for our final enrollment because our budget, we get budget allocations in October. So current enrollment K through 5th is, we projected 364. We currently have 286, so we're down 78 students. Projected numbers 6th through 8th. We projected in the spring 160. We have 152, so we're down 8. And for high school 9th through 12th, we projected 194. Current numbers of enrollment yesterday was 181, so we're down 13 students. And we hope to enroll. We have a lot of transient families coming in and out of the school district, and so I was there yesterday on enroll. It was like, I don't know, 30 kids that haven't even been enrolled. The parents don't know what to do, so I think we get a lot of late stragglers in the week of, people that have just been new to the community and didn't know, and so we hope to get those enrollment numbers up. Construction roofing project is done at the high school. So we're excited about that. We had a lot of roofing and air conditioning issues this past few years, and so those have been on a maintenance need, facility needs for the secondary campus, and so that is done. Asphalt is another thing. If you've went to the high school and you went to Bennett Elementary, both facilities are horrible in the asphalt, and so we have been approved at the high school to redo all the asphalt. We're waiting on a timeline still. And elementary is still, since we have been budgeted, like I talked to you guys in regards to getting a new elementary, they're still penciling out with the district. JARA has of what campus they're going to be putting it on. So it could be a K through 12 campus, and we could try to, but that kind of is a little confusing with budgets because we have two budgets, 6 through 12, and then we have K through 5th. So if we make it a K through 12 campus, it's going to change the budgeting, and so that's more departments in the district, and that's going to, so that's what they're working on right now. Staffing, just like everybody else in the world right now, short-staffed. So Dawn just lost her AP for secondary, gave notice, so he's gone. So she is really running both schools with no assistants, no helps right now, K through 12, running both assistant principal jobs and her principal job at both campuses. So hence why she wasn't able to be here today. But we are short-staffed, support staff, licensed staff. We need math, special educations, PE positions that are open. We're also in need of substitute teachers. And anyone that's interested, I'd ask that the newspaper maybe, we are short-staffed in the district, so they could go to ccsd.net and click on the little jobs tab if anybody is interested in the community. But overall, Don is excited to have students back in buildings. They're adhering to all the mitigation strategies and are able to keep our buildings open. At this time, all students and staffs must wear masks. Only essential volunteers are allowed on campus. Parents may call or schedule an appointment or walk up to the office and wait for assistance, but all visitors must wear masks on school district property. So, any questions from the board? No?
Any questions? No.
No? Okay,
No.
thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ashley. All right. So patient. Receive an update from Alan O'Neill regarding the proposed Avi Kwa Ami National Monument, and this is for discussion only. Thank you for waiting patiently. Welcome back.
My name's Alan, A-L-A-N, O'Neill, O''N-E-I-L-L.
Welcome.
I'm part of the Monument Coalition. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. I just welcomed you back.
Okay.
When you gave your original presentation, it was, I think, to a different board, but
Yes.
I think Herm and I were still here. Herm, were you here for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, I really appreciate the invite to go back and kind of brief you on what's going on. A lot's going on since we last met. I just want to be clear that the monument's a citizen-driven process. It's not a government process. People get confused with that, and I think that's really important. So we have a coalition of conservation organizations, user groups, tribes, various tribes, and of course a lot of local residents. A lot of momentum in this effort. We've been working several years to try and educate the public and all those that may have an interest in this from all walks of the community. We do have a website up, a Facebook site, and Instagram site. They're in your package. We've got somewhere like 3,800 signers on the petition and got the support of a tremendous amount of organizations, local, national conservation organizations. A lot of organizations are still coming on board in support of this, so we feel really good. In terms of, we have support from the, maybe change slides, I forgot. Anyway, we have a resolution of support from the Mojave Indian tribe, the Chemehuevi Paiute tribe, the Moapa Indian tribe, and support letters from tribal organizations like the Las Vegas Indian Center, Native American Alliance, and the Native American Student Association at UNLV. We also, during this time, have got a resolution in support of the monument from Boulder City and from the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce. We also have a letter of support from the Searchlight Town Advisory Board, who unanimously supported the monument at their June 9th, 2021 meeting. Change slides, please. Just for those who weren't there, this is the boundary as it's been revised. I just want to point out that the boundary was a combination of working with the ecological values and the cultural values, and so those came together to define the boundary, and I went through a rather rigorous approach in defining that. It's meant to connect those areas that are protected on the California side. That's the Mojave National Preserve and the Castle Mountains National Monument and the Mojave Trails and the Dead Mountain Wilderness through that corridor all the way over to Lake Mead. So essentially what we're trying to do is connect the Mojave Desert essentially to the Colorado Plateau. That's going to be very important as we look at issues like climate change, providing that connectivity between already protected areas builds resilience in that larger ecosystem. So when species need to make adjustments with changes in temperature or precipitation regimes, for example, the Joshua trees might move up in elevation. So making sure that those boundaries took into the elevation gradients and nooks and crannies, the transition zones, to make sure that we considered the migration routes for species like bighorn sheep. So I just wanted to kind of, without going over the details, we do have a certain level of protection already on these lands. They're all public lands. A lot of that's overlaid with Paiute El Dorado Valley, ACEC, and a couple wilderness areas. So, but they don't really deal with issues, the cultural issues. They were primarily oriented to ecological issues. So the interest is, this is a very important spiritual, cultural landscape. And so we want, the boundary takes those things, and plus issues like dark night sky, which is becoming even a more important resource as we lose that. These kids, many kids in our community have never seen a dark night sky, never seen the Milky Way. So places in this monument, we have some excellent dark night sky resources, and give an opportunity for school kids to come out and groups to come out and enjoy that dark night sky has become more important over time. And just the issue of natural quiet. So when you're putting large industrial developments like wind farms in the middle of that, you're losing your natural quiet. Next slide, please. So we want to protect, we want to protect existing recreational uses because we think the existing uses of hunting and travel on the designated backcountry road system, camping, hiking, all those things need to be retained. These are important aspects of our recreation and outdoor industry. We want to make sure that those are retained. We want to protect those migratory corridors, as I mentioned. Those corridors sustain that healthy population of wildlife, important for hunting and recreation. And of course, protecting the native plants and animals. We have probably several dozen special status species on this landscape, things like the Gila monster and others. So it's important that that's a goal, a monument. And then we get to the protected the sacred American cultural sites and values. That's critically important. And we've done a lot of work over the last couple of years in working with the tribes. It is a very important cultural landscape, not only from a historical standpoint, because many things important in our history is, as this country moved westward, we can find on this landscape. But also this is the ancestral lands for the Mojave tribe and the associated human-speaking tribes, also very important to the Chemehuevi Paiute and also the Hopi. So trying to understand why that landscape is important to them and why it needs to be protected. And, the protecting is a dark night sky. And of course, in the process, we want to honor existing mining claims and private property and existing utility rights of way. Next slide, please. So just briefly go through the history. The coalition's made presentations on the proposed monument and boundary at two previous town advisory board meetings. One was in December of 2019, and the second was in February 11th of 2020. These were informational meetings, not decision meetings, just our effort to want to make sure that, we were bringing this to you and you know what was going on. When we did those meetings, members of the board did ask that we really take a hard look at that boundary south of Highway 163. To see if we could make some adjustments. And we had indicated at the time that those boundaries were not written in stone, even though they were developed based upon principles. We were willing to look at those, making some adjustments. There was particular concern about that 5,280 acres that were in the Southlands area that were in the original monument boundary. There were also concerns about the monument's impact on potential future development of transmission to support local renewable energy projects. So that's kind of what we did after meeting with you all. We went back to the tribe, went back to interest, and made some adjustments. I could say the tribe not necessarily supportive of the adjustments, but they're willing to live with it. So,
Where I'm not seeing anything that's different.
Do you have this one?
Yes.
With the
I'm
adjustments?
comparing apples to oranges here.
Sure.
I want something that looks just like this to this.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm not seeing it.
you should have the full report that you just gave me.
I'm not seeing a difference.
Can you put this up on Elmo?
it's in I do have it on here.
Oh, you do have
Yeah,
this?
I do have it on there,
Okay,
yes.
but I'm going to go to Elmo because
Okay.
Which one you want?
Mr. O'Neill? Alan? I'm going to, just simply because at the last meeting you had in February of 2020, before everything shut down on the pandemic, I was the one that made the motion and requested the change. There was discussion amongst the board, and what we discussed was the fact that with the 9,000 acres, it would create a problem in the future where if we did have a solar program go in on that 9,000 acres, it would detour a power transmission line with which to be able to sell that power. So if you look at what I have here, if you look, it says original as it was proposed in the February Town Advisory Board meeting was done in red versus the revised boundary, which is done in blue. So if you follow my pen as I go along here, the original boundaries were in the red that went all the way here into our Southlands, almost to the Colorado River, all the way down to the California border, and then all the way back up to 95. What I had requested, there are already certain preserved lands, established monument lands in that area. What I had requested is that we pull this away, which is the blue line that indeed was done, all the way up to 163, and then down here away from the range that would be a possible transmission line for us to sell power, and then at the blue boundary. And that's what we had requested. We made a motion and you followed up, and that was what we had requested. This area here was all part of the monument before. They pulled back and the tribe agreed to stay away from our 9,000 acres and any possible source for us to sell power on a transmission line, and in addition to go all the way up to 163. So and Pam, I believe you have some questions on OHVs and things like that, and I can't answer those for you, but I can give you a copy of this one if you need
Well, I
it.
can see what it says in here.
Okay.
But I know how monument, national lands work. And to say that you can guarantee that this appears to be a land grab to me, I'm being honest with what I'm saying here. You cannot make any promises that you will keep areas open for off-road vehicles, all the other things, how it improves Laughlin. It's beautiful, it's protected now. Why we need to make this a national monument? I haven't heard one good reason why, not one. That land is protected already, that's out there. So a land grab to take more land away from the Laughlin community, or anyone else that wants to come here and use the desert, I don't get it. I mean, I'm being honest here.
Yeah, I thank you for your comment. This is already, this already has area of critical environmental concern protection. So this doesn't, that already precludes any kind of development on that ACEC. So
Then why are we going through?
because of its cultural values and such, is an important cultural landscape. Whether, you know, I can't speak for the native people, but to the native people, this is one of their most important areas. And so we're just simply overlaying that cultural layer over that. This is not, the ACEC is already there. The designated routes have already been established. Our hope is to keep those, obviously, those designated routes. That's what people are using. Those designated routes have been in place for about 20 years. And so we're not talking about eliminating the designated routes. We're talking about layering the different, the area critical environmental concern only deals with the ecological issue. It doesn't deal with the historical and cultural significance of this area. The The area critical environmental concern was created back in 20 years ago to respond to the protection of the desert tortoise as a threatened species. So that's been in place. This is simply a layering of the cultural values and such over top of that, and making sure that the ACEC is an administrative determination. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be permanent. At some point, somebody could change that.
Yeah, sure they will. Once it's done, it's done.
Ma'am?
I said, once it's done, it's done. There is no going back. Once
No,
it
I'm not
becomes
saying
a
going back. I'm
national
talking.
monument, there is no going back.
I'm talking about the area critical environmental concerns not going to go away. That's one of the most important areas in the entire state of Nevada. Mitigation from solar projects, the mitigation to allow those solar projects to take place, the mitigation's taking place on this Paiute El Dorado Valley ACEC. So, no, that's not going anyplace. So that's already excluded from development. So we're not excluding development here. That's why we made all the adjustments in the Laughlin area. The only two pieces that are not in the ACEC already is Hyco Canyon, which is a really rugged, incised canyon, and a small piece down there by the Dead Mountains. The rest of that's already protected in the ACEC, and it can't be developed anyway. That's why we removed all the area that wasn't in the ACEC that could be developed. The county wanted to put an OHV area in there. We eliminated that OHV from the Monument Valley. Is there concern about that? Yes. But we did remove it from the boundary. So I think we feel like we went as far as we could in addressing, making adjustments below 163 in response to the concerns that the board made. And so we felt, we come back and visit with individual members prior to the COVID. And we're back just to say, where are we in terms of this process now, and just to inform the board.
Great, I appreciate it. Do we have any more questions? Oh, you're together with him? I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought you were part of the public.
I came with him.
Okay.
Also gave me a ride. Good afternoon. My name is Berta Gutierrez, Bertha. The last name is Gutierrez, Gutierrez. I'm with Conservation Lands Foundation, and I'm part of the coalition for the monument. And what we think, what hasn't been presented on yet, is the benefits that come with a national monument designation, specifically the economic benefits that come to gateway towns, which are towns that are bordering a designated area. There are studies and there are studies that have been done. For example, when Escalante was designated as a national monument, both the towns of Kanab and Escalante saw an increase in property values in the area. They saw an increase in tourist in tourist business, which it just brings a little bit more of a diversification in the economics to towns like Laughlin, Boulder City, and Searchlight, which is one of the things that with a designation that currently exists in most of the area, like the area of critical environmental concern, you don't have people visiting the area for that, because it's not a national designation. But as soon as you designate an area as a national monument, then there's a lot of tourists that come through here that want to go to the river. Where you're missing out the tourists that want to go to the land and to the desert, that they want to rock climb, that they want to hike, that they want to backpack. So that is something that would benefit the towns, either you support it or not, if once the designation is in place. So that's something of value to know. Also, the whole area that's under the proposed monument, most of it is protected already through the ACEC designation, but there's still a couple of holes that are not protected, and every now and then projects come up that neighbors have to fight. So the designation is a way to protect those land and really like save time and headaches for the people that don't want large development in that area. So I hope that you said that you hadn't heard any reasons to support, an additional designation, and I thought I would contribute to that. Any questions that I may answer? Okay.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yeah, we think this is an important part of, revitalizing the tourism industry and such in this area. And there's a lot of good things going on. We got the Arizona Heritage Trail coming on board here in a few months. Everything that Laughlin's done with the Colorado River, Heritage Trails and Park. There's a new effort for a kind of a national recreation trail called the Sun Corridor Trail that looking at alignment. It's a big effort in Arizona, it's extending into Nevada. We hope that maybe that corridor will come through the Laughlin area. So I think it's a combination of things that are happening that can really coalesce and improve the tourism economy in the area. That's kind of the way the folks from Boulder City saw this as well, so.
Any more questions? Okay. Thank you for the update, Mr.
Yeah.
O'Neill. We appreciate your time
Yeah.
and hope you enjoyed our lengthy, this is like the most lengthy meeting we've had in a long time. Hope you enjoyed our lengthy meeting and you're up to date on everything that's happening in Laughlin. So-
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. And then we have item 16, which is announcements of upcoming neighborhood meetings and county or community meetings and events. For discussions, do we have anything at the Legion you want to let us know? And planning and zoning, we have no items. General business, review FY 2021 budget requests and take public input regarding suggestions for FY 2023 budget requests. And this is for possible action. Am I correct in that this is this, or is this another item?
No, this is this.
Okay,
And this is what is left from last year, so you can add.
to carry over that has not been funded?
Yes.
Okay, so if you guys look in your packets, you don't have one, Herb?
I don't have one.
Do we have one extra?
Yeah, you should have.
I'm wired in, this wiring in thing is. So basically what Tammy'd like and Mark would like before we leave here today, if you could rank under your name, 10 being the highest, in other words, highest level of importance, 1 being the lowest, although there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's only 8 items there. So from 10 to 3, your priorities, your personal priorities. So we have the RGC control room digital upgrade. We have the RGC, meaning Regional Government Center, I'm sorry, meeting room audience chair replacement, which is for our public, and Rome Tech building air conditioning, which is out at Pyramid Park, the Trails host site, a crosswalk at Las Palmas and Needles Highway. I don't know if that fits the legal requirements, but we may deal with that with Public Works again. It didn't maybe 8 years ago. Traffic counts, the traffic survey came back as a negative at that site, but maybe it's different today. And Spirit Mountain marquee sign. And I think that is a digital marquee,
Yes.
Not just the bulletin board setup, and a creation of a Laughlin cemetery. And I believe one of the drawbacks on the Laughlin cemetery issue was land. In other words, classifying and identifying
Right.
land, because in addition to public use, it also has to have percolation and water testing and stuff that deal with human remains.
Right.
So I think that was the issue we came up against like 15 years ago. So maybe that study's still out there because it has to have a percolation because of deposit of human remains.
Yep.
So if we can leave these here on the desk for Tammy so she has them and we don't have to massage this anymore.
Yep.
All right, so we'll leave those for Tammy. Okay. And so any more discussion on those? And item number 8, which is comments by the general public, and this is a, oh, okay. This is, I have to read my housekeeping.
You're right.
A period devoted to comments by the general public about matters relevant to the board or council's jurisdiction will be held. No vote may be taken on a matter not listed on the posted agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step up to the speaker's podium if applicable. Pam, I would just stay there. There's no reason for you to go.
Yeah,
Or
that's
do you
fair.
want that for filming? Okay.
No, that's
All right,
fine.
because she's recorded. Clearly state your name and address and spell your last name for the record. If any member of the board wishes to extend the length of a presentation, this will be done by the chairperson or board by majority vote. So anyone that wishes to speak? Pamela?
I'd just like to update, obviously, the board, anyone that's here and our community at large about Roger Reimer. He is progressing. He is still unable to stand on his own or able to walk even on his own with a walker. So what's going to happen is he's going to move to Joshua Springs Assisted Living and continue with the therapy to see if they can get him to the point where he can safely either walk with a walker or a cane. If he cannot within that 2 months, he is going to permanently live at Joshua Springs. Now, even though he is going to be at Joshua Springs, he will still be part of this community. Myself or Novelt Mack, who is the commander of the VFW, will make sure that he comes to meetings. If he wants to participate in something in the school, we'll make sure that he has transportation to do that when we're able to do so.
Yeah, I don't think you could ever
But
stop him.
I do want to let everybody know in the community that he is progressing. He loves hearing from people. He loves having visitors. And his 75th birthday is the 16th of this month. So if you can call him, drop by, or send a card, I know that he would really appreciate it. And thank you for letting me take the time to do that.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't be able to stop him anyways. He'd show up. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have our next meeting date, which is September 14th of 2021. And with that, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.